Now joining me, he's number 51 for the New York Football Giants, long snapper Zak DeOssie. Zach, Z-Expert Zach Gelb here, Shovio.com. Thank you for joining me. How you doing this evening?
I'm doing well, Joe. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm doing great myself. Now, you're in the NFL Player Associating meetings in Florida. What goes on in these types of meetings?
That's a good question. Actually, I just arrived here with my fiance about half an hour ago. I'm in Marco Island, Florida, where they have the annual NFL Union Rep meeting. And this is my first year as an NFL rep representing the Giants. So I'm going to have a lot to learn, but what I can expect is that we're going to be talking a lot about, recent issues, obviously the lockout and insurance and how long we can last this lockout and strategy moving forward from here on out.
Now, what was your reaction when you first heard that the NFL closed its doors on you? What was the first thing that came to mind?
I wasn't surprised, I've been hearing about this lockout talk for a long time. As a player rep, I've sort of been immersed more than other players, learning about it and trying to understand it. And I understand it, and I get it. So, now it's just it's a standard competition, and I'm not surprised. It makes sense what they're doing, and maybe not the most sense in the world, but it is what it is, and it's a business, and that's what the NFL comes down to.
Now, what advice did you receive from your father? He was a part of the NFL. He won a Super Bowl. Bill Parcells nicknamed him Beach Ball. What advice did you receive from your dad about the NFL lockout?
Oh, generic old man talk, save your money. Irregardless of the lockout or not, always tell me to save my money. But, my old man knows that I got a good head on my shoulders, and he's prepared me, over the years to handle something of this sort of nature. So I guess the most important thing is for not only myself, but all the other players is to start saving your money and figuring out alternative health insurance plans. We got this COVID thing going on for all the players who need it, and it's available to players and their families. And then, who knows how long this lockout could go. It could go a week. It could go a month. It could go to next December. It could go for a full year. So you got to be prepared to hold out for the worst. And that's the best advice that my old man told me, save your money.
We're talking to Zak DeOssie, long snapper for the New York Football Giants. And have you discussed with teammates about possibly training off-site of location outside of the Meadowlands because you're not allowed to do that? Did you talk about collaborating with those teammates and training with them?
I'm friendly with most of the guys on the team, and we all pick our spots that are convenient to their whatever proximity of where their home is. And a lot of the guys live out of state, and then a lot of guys live in New Jersey. So, me, for example, I'm working out in Manhattan with one of my teammates, and it's close proximity to where I live, and it makes sense and it fits my schedule. So, a lot of other guys are working out together at other places. So we kind of go, not necessarily going our own ways, but we're all keeping in touch. We're all getting ready and prepared to go back at a moment's notice, and just trying to pretend that, even though we're locked out, we're getting our bodies ready as if the season is going to start as, same schedule as always.
Now, last week I was talking to Patriots running back Kevin Falk. I know you grew up as a Patriot fan, and Kevin told me that he plans to go back to LSU and train. Did you ever think about going back to Brown and using their football program to get your reps in and lift some weights?
No, I haven't because, I spent 4 years working out at Brown, and it's a great place, but my fiance lives in New York. She works in New York, and my life is here now, so it's hard for me to get back to Brown for, on a consistent basis to really buckle down and start training. So, like I said, I found a spot that's close proximity to where I live now, which is Hoboken, New Jersey, and I stick to that place.
Now, one big issue here over the labor concerns has been going to 18 games. The owners are for it. It sounds like most of the players are against it. What are your views if the NFL does decide to go to 18 games? Do you think the players can prepare for this task?
We can do whatever we want. If the price is right, then we'll play 2 extra games. You got to understand, adding another 2 games adds a whole other bag of variables to the game. A lot of risk for the players that we take on, and we need to be compensated for that risk. And that's what our union is fighting for right now. So, do we want to play 18 games? Do we want to play 2 more games? Physically, no. We don't. But if they prorate it for an extra 2 games, our salary and not stretch our regular 16-game salary over 16 games.
Yeah,
then that's something that's a fair trade, but that's not what they're offering.
Yeah, that's something that I totally agree with you. If they want to put you guys out there on the field for 2 more games, then they better find a way to compensate you guys, because I've been here so many times of guys like Mike Ditka and Mark Schlereth who could barely get out of bed and walk because they played so many games. I was talking to Jerry Kramer at the Super Bowl, played line for the Green Bay Packers, and he told me I was apprehensive when they went to just 16 games. So this is obviously a prevalent issue, but I agree with you 110% that they got to find a way to compensate the players, not just now, but even after the careers.
And here's the reality of the situation. The guys play football because we want to play football. If we didn't want to play, we go elsewhere and get a job doing something else. But we love what we do, and we love playing football. Bottom line is, if our employers want to go to 18 games, obviously we want to be compensated for it. But you always hear the horror stories about players getting hurt, and it's a terrible, terrible thing. We're trying to mitigate that as much as possible and try and get rid of that wear and tear. 18 games obviously is not helping, but if you have a longer benefit plan available to you after playing an 18-game season, because that's sort of a consolation that the owners should give up, then it's something that we can seriously consider. But at this point, we can't.
Now, I understand that you get this because you went to Brown, you're a smart guy, you paid your dues in this league, but when a guy out there like Adrian Peterson says today, this lockout is like modern-day slavery, do you agree with a comment like that? I just think it's complete ludicrous.
Everyone's entitled to their opinion, and I'm certainly not going to be a player to downgrade what any other of my teammates or fellow colleagues say. It's important to keep things in context, and things tend to get blown out of proportion when the media gets a hold of things that players say. The media doesn't necessarily know all the facts, and I'm sure Adrian Peterson was joking in some sort of context, and it's easy to take a literal meaning out of that sort of saying, but I mean that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but the point of using that exaggeration is to get the point across of how not ridiculous, but almost silly. This is a silly thing that's going on between the owners and the union right now. It's getting to the point where we're getting locked out and families are getting affected. So I think it's important to keep that in mind and keep everything in perspective and not take a literal meaning of what people say here and there.
We're talking to Zak DeOssie, long snapper for the New York Football Giants and Super Bowl champion. And Zach, interesting thing came out this week, and it was rumored that the union, it's no longer a union, was saying that they wanted to boycott the NFL draft. I don't believe this notion, but is that true to any sorts?
You hear a bunch of things. My source starts and ends with my union and union leaders. What you do here in the media is what it is. Like I said, you got to take everything with a grain of salt. Know your sources, and we have moves. We have our bartering moves. We have certain things that we can leverage and we use to our advantage. So, I mean that makes sense. The NFL draft is a commodity to the owners, and if we essentially ask the fans to not pay attention to it, then nobody's making money, and power shifts to the players. So you get the whole power play there.
And now, what's your relationship with John Mara? Before this whole lockout happened, what was your relationship with the Giants owner?
Oh, nothing but the utmost respect for the Maras and the Tisches. The classiest organization. I hope I can play for them to the end of my career. As a player, it's also in a union rep. It's important to understand that nothing is personal. It's all business. And I know John Mara is looking out for the best interests of the organization as well as the players, and at the same time, he has a business to run. So he's very well respected amongst the owners, and also very, very well respected amongst the players.
Now, do you think the whole lockout will hurt the relationship players had with owners? For example, let's take a guy like Tom Brady. All you heard is how he has a love relationship with Bob Kraft. Him and Kraft have such mutual respect for each other. Do you think, would you ever imagine this lockout hurting your friendship with John Mara?
No, certainly not. And you got to understand, we are a product as players, we're a product. We provide a certain commodity to fans that people pay money for. A lockout, no one's going to have bad feelings when they're signing another contract. It's going to be status quo across the league. Whatever happens with the contracts is what it is. Everyone's going to be playing under the same rules. Everyone's going to be making money. It might not be as much. It might be the same. Who knows? But the important thing is that we choose to play this game. And if we don't like it, our relationships with the owners might deteriorate over time, for some big-time players. But I certainly do not see this lockout affecting any sort of relationship on that sort of player-owner barrier whatsoever.
Now let's talk about your Combine experience. You were the first player ever to get an invite to the Combine from Brown University. What was your Combine experience like? What advice would you give to players that are undergoing this draft process right now?
Oh, it was intense. It was being most intense, one of the most intense 4 months of my life. I trained rigorously for this and left no variables unturned. What a lot of people don't know about the Combine is that, yes, there's a lot of tangibles that are measured, 40s, broad jumps, benching, a lot of materialistic things. But the thing that people don't know is that you sit down as a player, as an individual, and you represent Zak DeOssie, and you have to sell yourself to all 32 teams. So you're having intimate conversations, essentially a job interview, with all these coaches for your respective position, and you got to put up. You got to sell yourself and let them know that why you're important to their organization and why it would be a good idea for them to draft you. So you play that game as well as try and perform at your obviously at your physical best. So that's another aspect of the Combine I can offer some advice to the guys going is know what you're going to say to these guys. Be prepared, carry yourself well, and be confident.
Now, have you seen the video of Zach Gelb, the kid from Washington State University, the long snapping video with the trick shots?
I have actually. It's incredible. I saw it probably 2 weeks ago. The kid put together a really good video, and I'm sure a lot of the other long snappers seen it throughout the league. It's certainly entertaining. He looks like a solid long snapper.
Now, he's a nice guy, too. He came on my show as well. He was very well spoken. But I do want to ask you one thing. What advice would you give to him about the transition from snapping in college to the NFL at the long snapping position?
Oh, in college, nothing that he hasn't heard already. Long snappers know the intricacies of this game, and the big thing is consistency. It starts with consistency and ends with consistency. If you're a headache as a long snapper, you're gone within a year. If your coaches and management don't have to worry about you, and you perform at a high level and you're consistent, you can maintain a job for a long time. And the next thing is blocking. College, it's tough to. It's easy in college to snap the ball because no one can hit you right off the bat, but now they can slant from the A-gaps right into your face, and right when the ball moves, and you're at much bigger disadvantage than you were in college. So, but I've seen this kid. He looks like a great snapper. I'm sure he'll have no problem with that transition.
We're talking to Zak DeOssie, long snapper for the New York Football Giants, won a Super Bowl in 2007 when he beat my New England Patriots, who he grew up for rooting as a kid. Was that tough for you going into that game, knowing that all your family, they wanted to see you do well probably, but they knew that you rooted for the Patriots? What were your feelings going into that game?
It's a rhetorical question, Gelb, but I really don't. So I'm playing for an organization. I make the New York Giants. The organization that pays my bills, the organization that was great enough to ask me to come play for them in the 4th round. Going to play, it didn't matter if I was playing it didn't matter who I was playing. There was no mixed emotions going into that game whatsoever. Now, was it nostalgic? Certainly. It certainly was. I have nothing but the utmost respect for the Patriots as an organization, as a team. Yes, I was a fan growing up, and I love watching them play, but when it comes to my paycheck and their paycheck, I hope that I have no sort of allegiance when it comes to that.
Now, when the Patriots score in that Super Bowl, and I hate talking about it, but I will because, you can't be biased in this industry, and when Brady throws the touchdown to Randy Moss, did you truly believe your team could come back?
Oh, yeah. Come on. Any given Sunday. I've played a lot of football games, and I've seen a lot of incredible things happen, so.
Now,
there's ups and downs throughout the entire game, and the second you start doubting yourself, then you're already out of the game.
now, what was your reaction when David Tyree caught that football? Was it like right then you just knew, okay, guys, come on, we're winning this game. It's destined to be.
No, we didn't know it. No, I mean, yeah, it's all about momentum, and you understand the momentum swings in football games, but me personally, I was just in utter amazement. I've never seen a catch like that. I've never seen a catch like that in such a huge clutch game, especially by a player who, you know, is notoriously known for special teams. He comes out and has the game of his life in the Super Bowl.
We're talking.
There's a lot of emotions that were flying around my head at that time, but, you know, we loved the momentum, we loved it, but I was sitting there just watching this almost beside myself, just hanging on for dear life and hoping for the best.
We're talking to Zak DeOssie. And Zach, two quick questions here on the way out. How tough was you with it for you this year dealing in the New York media when there was a lot of speculation going around Tom Coughlin's job security? Was that something where it was tough for you to deal with that situation?
You know what? It's important to understand that New York media is you're under a microscope no matter what, whether you're doing well or not doing well. You're under the microscope. Yes, it was a little tough for me because I love playing for Coach Coughlin. I really buy into his system and I believe in it. And the fact that the media was, you know, had him by his neck, you know, and ready to get rid of him it's just New York City. So, like I said, take everything with a grain of salt when it comes to the media and kind of just ignore it. And I'm ecstatic that they're sticking with Coach Coughlin. I mean, 4 years ago, they were ready to kick him out, and the media had already expected him to get kicked out, and then he doesn't win the Super Bowl. So it's important to keep these things in mind and understand that the management, it's ultimately up to the management, and not to the New York media.
Zach, thank you so much for coming on, but one last thing here on the way out. Where's my invitation to this wedding of yours?
It's an open invitation. Whoever wants to come. It's April 28th of 2012. It's going to be at the p.m. So if you got that, write that down, and I'll see you there.
I'll just say this. You know what? My invitation must have got lost in the mail. Zach DeOssie, thank you so much for coming on the show. Appreciate the time.
All right, brother. Thanks for having me. Take care.
You too.